Well, good morning. It is Wednesday, so we're going to do a walkthrough of the shop, and I'll tell you what's going on this week. Okay, so we're going to start over here because I am currently working on this little diorama that I made this weekend. What I had done is I had built this, and it was completely built, and the top camo was done, but I hadn't painted the underside, and I hadn't done any decals or the detailing or the canopy or actually even the interior of it. And it was sitting in a box. It was sitting in that box. And so I just picked it up this weekend. I wanted to do something like this. And then I did this. So I finished that, and then I did this. Now, the problem with that is the video that I'm making is really only on the diorama part of it, or the base, you know, the Cliffs of Dover here, my little micro terrain, as someone called it. And so I don't really have video of this because I didn't take, the video of it, of building it and stuff like that. So I'm going to try to do as best I can, but the video I'm making is really on this little scene that I made down here. And so I found a picture of Dover, and then I just created, this little kind of scenery thing. And I'll show you how I did it and all that in the video, but it was a lot of fun. And I'm really happy with how it came out. And see, this is supposed to be like these little piles down here. That's like piles of some of the rock and stuff, falling down. So anyway, that is a really fun project that I did. It took like 3 days to finish the painting, to do everything here. And I mean, this was already turned. I had this base for something else previously, and so that was just like sitting in the back of the shop, so it was totally easy to do it. What else am I doing? Well, this week, I think for now, we're just gonna call it the Chuck Wagon diorama. Bob, the guy that I'm doing it for, real nice gentleman, he'll name it, but for now, just in reference, I'm going to call it that. So what this is this is a massive diorama, or I should say display, because what it's going to have is it's going to have a road, much like the rock cut road diorama that I did, which was, like this big. It was just totally small. So here is the original rock cut road diorama right there. And I hadn't thought of this before. I just thought it'd be kind of cool to show you. And so now we're going to take what was there and basically scale it up to that big. Okay, that was a long way to go to show you something kind of really dumb. But anyway, so that's what this is going to be. Now, to figure out this diorama and how I'm going to make terrain on this, what I'm doing first off is I'm kind of gauging where it's going to go. I don't have that diorama, so I can't show you, but I'll try to clip some pictures to kind of show you here. And so what I have to do is I have to make it accommodate not just like a horse or something like that, but it's basically a chuck wagon train that starts with a horse, and I think it's called a buck. It's a smaller trailer that is towed by the actual chuck wagon, and then there's two horses. It's a beautiful build, and that's already finished. And so what this is going to be is the basis for that. And I've talked about it before, but I just want to show you what part of the process I'm in. So we built the frame for it, and as this piece of foam sits in this frame, there's a stepped side to it like this. So it's going to rest all the way down here on the bottom of this. This side is what I'm talking about. So that, the bottom, which is a piece of 1/4 inch MDF, that will rest on this step right here. And then about an inch or so up, there's this shelf. And then the diorama will come up about an inch, and then that's the top here. So what I did was I set this in there, and then I took a pencil and I I took a pencil and I ran all the way around here. You see that line? And that will designate what the top of that shelf is. And so what I can do is I can carve this diorama and this terrain all the way down to that point in the extreme, at least on the edges, for the diorama. I don't want to go below that. And, you know, it's relatively flat, right? Texas is pretty flat, and you don't want a lot of rises and stuff like that. But from the reference picture that we have, there is kind of a slope down that they're coming down. And you don't want a lot of that because it's really hard on the horses or the mules that are pulling the, you know, the chuck wagon, and so you keep them flat. Well, there is going to be a little bit of you know, elevation change in this, so that we are coming down a little bit, but not a lot. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to have, instead of adding to the top of this, which is what I thought I would do before for the road grade to have the drop, I'm going to leave this as the top of the road grade, and then I'm going to come down to that part. You can barely see that line that I ran all the way around. It'll come down to that part. So that way it's much more flat. I'm not really adding much extraneous to the top of this thing, but now that needs to be figured out, how that's going to fit into the design. So I'm just kind of giving you the how I do this. So now I'm going to have it higher up here, and then right around here, this mark right here, I'm going to start coming down. It has to be gradual. It can't be like a, you know, drop off. It has to be this really feathered, gradual drop all the way along here to there. And that's not an easy thing to do. I have to remove one heck of a lot of surface here to get that down to where I want. And here's the things that I need to consider. Number one, there's going to be the rock cut from the other video I did. There's a rock, this big rock, you know, formation, prominent thing in this picture that we're using. So that comes across here. That's going to be on the surface. It goes below ground, sure, but it just has to be on the surface. So that has to be here. And then I have to consider how wide the chuck wagon is. And so that's what this is. This is a little gauge. This is 9 inches long, and that gives us room all the way around this. So that's going to be the width of our road, 9 inches. This is a quarter scale diorama, so 9 inches is, you figured out. But anyway, I start here because I want some interest. I want some visual interest. I'm thinking about what the mules and the chuck wagon and the buck and the trail horse, there's one horse in the back walking beyond. I want to visualize that here, and then I'm trying to visualize what I can put around it, you know, on the front and the back, not just the road itself, to make it interesting, to give it some visual depth, to give it a placement. You know, it's here in the world. This is West Texas. And make it interesting. So to do that, and before I start carving, with this, that's the width. I just kind of said, look, I want to start coming at an oblique angle on the corner. I just like that. It's instead of coming in straight or coming in on the side where you've got this really sharp, you don't want a real sharp angle, but I do want some life. I want some movement, and that's what this kind of a slight S curve will give us. So I start here, and then I go to the extreme points. Now you see there's a dotted line the whole way, but that's not how it started. It started by going there, marking a little tick mark on either side with my Sharpie. I've got a Sharpie right there. So I start and I put a little tick mark on either side, and then I go to the extremes. The extremes are the middle. Okay, so here, I went right here. I think it's this one I did first. No, I think I did this one. And I don't want to get too close to the edge. I want to show the road's delineation, you know, and it'll be pretty tight. It's not going to be a big drop, or it's not going to be a big hill, or it's not going to be a bunch of stuff there. It's going to be a pretty flat thing. It's just that there's bushes and stuff like that. That's as close to as I want there. And the reason I want it so far forward is that gives me this space back here, you know, this kind of this wide area back here. It gives me that space to put things behind, to help with details, to help with the scenery, to help give it a backdrop. So you're not just looking at the front of it and then there's nothing behind it. You're looking at the chuck wagon, and there's something behind it that also goes with it. It's just, you know, trying to add some depth, but also depth that matches the scenery. Then, after I've got that there, I go to the end and I figure out where I'm going to come out. And it's the same thing here. I want to come out on the end, kind of straight. You know, it's coming down here, and then it has kind of like that, and then it just straightens it out. So I put a tick mark here and here. So then when I have the extremes of the movement, I'm going to start there, I'm going to go there, and I'm going to end here. When I have those extremes, then I start walking it back, and I go in the middle of that, and I figure, well, right about there, between that point and that point, that seems out right, and I make a tick mark there and a tick mark there. And then I just keep halving it. Does that make sense? I keep halving. So between, you know, the middle mark and the beginning mark, then I go in half and I put that there. And then I basically do that all the way along this, and that gives me the general flow with these dotted lines to, you know, complete this thing. When I start to carve now, it's just that I'm going to have a low spot here, a little bit of a crown here, and a low spot here delineating the road. This is going to be natural terrain. It can be a little bit more, you know, not so flat, a little bit more terrain height, you know, some bushes that have grown up for eons, and so they've kind of created this little mound. That stuff can exist back here, but not here. Here, it's been cleared. It is a wagon trail, and so the wagon is going to take prominence here. But back here and here, I can have a little bit more variation in, you know, away from level. I don't know what the word would be, you know, variated, or I don't know. Here, right here, going across as per the first small diorama we did, that's going to be a large rock formation. It's probably going to stand about 3 to 4 inches proud of the surface here. That'll go here. It'll cut for the road, and then it'll pick up back here and come off. Back here, we're probably going to have another formation that kind of surfaces, but it's kind of like porpoising. It's going up and then going back down. But it's going to be the same formation type that's here. There's not going to be any wild drop-offs, no cutaways or anything like that, like I had in the primary diorama, because that was a much steeper drop. This is going to be a much more graduated drop. You don't want to be coming down a hill with a wagon with a wagon, 2 mules, and then a buck behind it and another horse. That horse doesn't know what he's doing. He's not pulling on that wagon to keep it from jackknifing on you. So you don't want to be going any down any real steep stuff. So they made these roads to accommodate that. But just to get a little bit of terrain variation, it is going to come down here and then flatten out. So that is the job. How am I going to do it? Well, I've got a lot of tools here lined up. Everything's prepped and ready to go. I just, these things, when I'm doing a diorama, and let's go over to this diorama real quick. When I'm doing a diorama, I kind of have to see it. I have to see this cliff here. I've got to see the beach, the black sand on the beach. I've got to see I've got to see it. And when I see it, then I can start carving it. Well, I can see this. That's not a problem. But to carve it, I haven't I haven't figured out in my mind, because before I start carving, I'm not going to just jump right in. Before I start carving it, I'm going to run through that in my mind. I'm going to physically see myself in my mind cutting this away and how it's going to go. I'm going to run through that routine like a loop a million times with different variables and this thing shifting and stuff like that. That's how my brain works. And so I haven't finished doing that. I'm just thinking about it. You know, I'm like, okay, what if I do here and how do I do that? If I use this tool, that's going to give me a certain surface that I'm going to use I've got an 80 grit that I'll replace here. So it's a very rough 80 grit sandpaper I'll put on here. It also, I can put a dust collection hose on here and pick this stuff up, because that's the other thing. If I'm taking off so much of this stuff, it's going to get every flipping where. So I've got the vacuum over here. I've got the different tips that I use. This one, because it's choking it down, it gives me a little bit higher velocity, a little bit more suction at the end, so I can pick stuff up as I'm carving it away. I can be using this. I can be using the Fordham to do some of the details, even some of the bigger stuff. This does, once you get going, you can take up a lot of stuff. But, you know, it's going to take a while to remove and shape this much foam. It's a heck of a lot. So that's where I'm at. That's where we're going. I'm probably going to do the rock that's going to go across here. I'll probably do those first and then carve this, because I can't carve this and then, oh, it doesn't, you know what I'm saying? So I'll probably do that first. But again, that's what I'm running through my brain. That is what is kind of, you know, chugging away on the problem that I have in front of me. This has been set up for about a day like this. It's been sitting here for 3 days, but it's been set up like this and ready for me to dive in when, you know, the brain finishes processing stuff. It is just ready to go. It's just ready to rock and roll, and I can do it. But I don't start until I'm confident, yeah, I've got this, most of the stuff worked out. And that's just, you know, that's just how the brain works. What else is going on in the shop? Well, I showed you that, my little diorama that I did this weekend, and it was very fun. That is going to be our video. I'm working on that video right now. I'm editing it, and that's going to be our video for Saturday. These videos are supposed to be uploaded for you as members, you know, earlier on, like up to a week. And man, I'm busting my you-know-what, and I haven't kind of built up that backlog. So we haven't missed a week or anything. It's just that I'm editing this to upload in a couple of days instead of, you know, it should have been edited like a month before. So anyway, I'm working on my not backload, but my, I don't know what the heck, all the stuff that I'm backed up on. So yeah, that is pretty much what's going on. It's really nice outside. Ghost is out there. He's hunting. He had a gopher earlier. The deer are outside. It's just super nice. End of the summer, and I'm having a wonderful time in the shop. I am going to be doing more diorama stuff. I think some folks are like, man, you're doing all these examples and this and that and these little things. But I am going to be doing some more diorama stuff. I'm working on something that I think you're going to really, really like. It is, I said before, I kind of put away Godzilla for now, but I did bring out the D&D diorama. And I'm very excited about, let's say, Lord of the Rings. I'm a massive Lord of the Rings fan, Peter Jackson fan, and there's some things that I'm also working out in what I want to produce in my next diorama. But I believe it's going to be it's going to have a Lord of the Rings flair to it, because I just really loved working in that world, working in, you know, the medieval kind of time and stuff like that. I so thoroughly enjoyed that, and the scratch building that I could do and all of that, really really liked it. So Anyway, that's what's happening in the shop. I hope I'm answering questions and you know, giving you good content. I want this to be something, you know, that we can share together, being in, you know, in the member stuff. I will be posting some stuff up similar to this on the main channel for regular digestion, so that people can see what is part of the behind the scenes stuff. So look for that soon too. I hope you are doing well. Let's go to the mirror. This is the only mirror I got in here. I am super excited to get back to work, and I hope you have a wonderful week. I'm going to get back to editing, and very soon we'll get back on that, and I'll show you some videos when we're done. Have a great day. We'll see ya.